On July 14th, 1863, New York City went through the largest civil insurrection in the United States, other than the Civil War itself. Over 150 people were killed and over 2,000 people were wounded. The new draft laws that were passed caused the riots. The draft laws went into effect on the day of July 13th. The draft laws said that if you could pay $300, then you didn't have to be drafted into the Union Army for the Civil War. Otherwise, you were going to be drafted if you were an average male, that is. The riots started when the names were first called out for the draft at the 9th District Provost Marshal's office at 3rd Avenue and 47th Street in Manhattan. The riots started immediately, first led by the Black Joke Engine Company 33. Soon the whole city was involved. The rioters first attacked the military and officials who were leading the draft proceedings, and then the rioters attacked the rich, since they were excused from the drafts. And soon the rioters targeted freed black men. In fact, over 11 free black males were lynched during the riots. The rioters targeted blacks because these free black men were taking up jobs that would have otherwise gone to the blue-collar white males. Unfortunately, the military was stationed off at battle in the Civil War, so the military did not get involved until July 15th. On July 14th, the rioters did end up being calmed down a little bit because a heavy rain had doused the fires that they had caused. Unfortunately, when the military did get involved, they ended up killing civilians and taking harsh actions against the rioters in general. On July 16th, the riots were settled and peace was once again reinstated in New York City. This was all in reaction to the original Conscription Act that was passed a year earlier on July 16, 1862. This was the first time that the government had forced soldiers to serve. In the end, only 6% of the people called to serve in New York City actually served. After riots and enforcement of the conscription laws picked up everywhere except for New York. In Martin Scorsese's movie, Gangs of New York, he presents a gang fight that goes on during the draft riots at the end of the film. Although the riots are obviously somewhat over-dramatized, this does give a good picture of what the city would have actually looked like back then with all the chaos going on. The movie also gives a good presentation of the tensions among the immigrants and the Americans and how that tension fueled the riots. The riots that happened in New York City in 1863 not only showed the tension between the working men and the government, but it showed how there is a delicate tension between the working man and the rich man and the fellow working man, which can be driven into chaos very easily. I simply mean that a lot of chaos involved in riots is usually just a case of misdirected anger. The blue-collar working man should have just directed its anger towards the government in a peaceful way, so that they could try to get the law repealed. But of course, with such a huge amount of people back in a time where diplomacy wasn't the working man's game, anger set in first and fast. In conclusion, these riots are an important event in our country's history because it shows how the government cannot let the privileged be entitled to avoiding the inconveniences that underprivileged are required to endure by law. That is not equality, and the government must strive to have equality, or else people will rise up in anger like they did in this case. Thank you.